Ladies and gentlemen, good day and welcome to the investors call of GE Power India Limited. As a reminder, all participant lines will be in the listen-only mode, and there will be an opportunity for you to ask questions after the presentation concludes. Should you need assistance during the conference call, please signal an operator by pressing star then 0 on your touchtone phone. Please note that this conference is being recorded. I now hand the conference over to Mr. Prashant Jain, Managing Director, GE Power India Limited. Thank you, and over to you, sir.
Hi, thank you, and very good afternoon to you all. A warm welcome to the earnings call of this quarter. I have my team with me on this call. That is from Steam Power. I have Vineet Pant, my Chief Commercial Officer, Yogesh Gupta, my Chief Financial Officer, Raj Raman, who is executing the project portfolio, the project execution chief, and from Hydro, Kalpesh, the CFO, and Ryan Shelby, our regional head from Singapore. So the team is here today to share what happened in the first quarter, the results, the business direction, and then we will provide the opportunity for question and answer after the brief presentation. The presentation is uploaded on the slide. On page 2, we have the agenda on what topics we would cover for today. I will briefly cover the safety and business update, followed by the quarter financials, highlights, and project execution update, followed with question and answers. Moving to page number 3, I would like to spend a minute to speak about the first quarter, which was very difficult for the country in India with the COVID wave 2. So here I would spend a minute to pray for the families of all on the call, for those near and beloved ones who would have gone through directly or indirectly a difficult period in the first quarter. So in this quarter, we had a huge challenge with wave 2. Several employees were affected, and we also did see fatalities in the quarter. At the same time, we had also challenges in the site execution progress. So personally and professionally and in the family members, we saw challenges in the quarter as the country saw in the wave 2. What did we do as a team to respond? GE created a South Asia corpus to support the employees for the medical expenses beyond insurance, because we found that the insurance was not adequate to support the employees. The second thing that we did was to say, hey, look, we need to improve the vaccination drives. That is the best way to mitigate the wave 3 if it comes. And therefore, we have gone ahead and done a vaccination drive for employees and family members, and also covered the contractors at sites. We have been able to cover, as on date, about 97% of eligible employees with at least one vaccination. So that is what we have done with all employees to ensure that they are safe and we are able to mitigate the wave 3 and protect the employees and contractors to the extent possible. We have also supported COVID care facilities around the project sites and factories. And for the current year, we have improved the budget in the corporate social responsibility to ensure that should a wave 3 happen, there is an adequate support and hospital infrastructure in the communities that we operate. And last but not the least, of course, we did also create a network of doctors and oxygen concentrators, volunteers of about 34 within JEPL to support the employees. Last but not the least, the work from home we continued, and we continue work from home for majority of the employees on non-site and non-factory, where it is not mandatory. So here we have divided the employees in 3 bases. One is the work from home permanently, one is work from home hybrid mode who need to come to office once in a while, and the third category of workers, which is 100% working on site or project or in the office, whose staff cannot be work from home. So these are the measures that we have taken to ensure that we have business continuity. At the same time, we ensure safety of the employees. Moving on to page 4, now I would like to talk about the strategy direction that we spoke about last year, where we said we will move towards new build to service. Our organization, as we see lesser new build, we develop the service higher ratio of service orders. In this quarter, we see the trend. We had a larger share of service orders, and on the other side, we did not see any new equipment ordered in the first quarter. On the EPC, non-EPC ratio, we see that we had mentioned last year we will focus on good quality jobs. We will reduce the EPC exposure, which is consuming the working capital of your company, and that is where we have now started securing orders on the non-EPC segment, where the exposure is limited to equipment supplies and site services. And here we see the trend in this quarter particularly was all non-EPC jobs. The third area where we said we will concentrate as a company on was the private sector. We have large exposure to the government contracts. That puts us into delays at times on receiving of payments, and there is attractive private sector as well. And here we see in the quarter one a trend which is supporting the business that we wanted to achieve. And we have had some good successes in service in the private sector that we have announced also, and Vineet will talk about them in the coming slides. So all in all, we see a good direction. We see that the strategic direction that we have embarked on seems to be in the right direction. Moving on to page 5, quickly talk about the key highlights of the first quarter. The orders we have announced in the press release. On the execution side, it gives confidence to us that we are able to execute OEM outages for especially the Chinese fleet that you see on the top. On the bottom, you see the experiences that we have commissioned on the automation and control, and the hydro project in Baba was synchronized to the grid. So key highlights of the quarter one are displayed on the page 5. So with this, I would say that while we had a challenging first quarter, where we have revenue shortfall due to COVID primarily, plus impact on a couple of large projects, Yogesh will take you through the financials here on, starting with the order intake from Vineet and followed by Yogesh on financials. So over to you, Vineet, for the page 7.
Thanks, Prashant, and good afternoon, everyone. So I'm going to take you through the order outlook for quarter one, which is slide 7. So as you can see from the slide, this quarter has not been very good for orders as compared to last year, quarter one of last year. We have done around 238 crores this year. And the salient features is, if you see compare with quarter one of last year, FGD, there were a lot of FGD orders. In fact, around 7.6 gigawatt orders were finalized in quarter one of last year. But this year, it's only 1.3 gigawatts. So this has to some extent affected us. It is mainly because of COVID. The ordering was delayed due to COVID. And then there were some issues on the timelines, some ambiguity, which has now subsequently been clarified. Plus, there were some issues on import limitations. So overall, FGD orders have not got finalized, but going forward, I would say we see a healthy pipeline, and situation is going to improve in quarter 2 and quarter 3 onwards. One more point is that we really the orders which were finalized were the orders which we were really not targeting. They have some issues, as Prashant mentioned in the earlier slide. We are looking at EP jobs more with the private sector where we can get cash accretive deals. So the orders which were no bid were actually which we were not targeting. Services, of course, there has been a big jump. It's almost there's a growth of 147% compared to quarter one of last year. And to some extent, this is because, as Prashant showed in the earlier slide, we got a couple of big orders from upgrades, which has really helped us do well. But again, this is in line with our strategy, wherein we are going to be more and more active in the service sector as compared to new build. But overall, I would say we still we are looking at a healthy pipeline, both for FGD and services going forward, and we should do better. Also, I think one more last point, hydro, again, we had a very big order in quarter one of last year. almost 280 crores, So that was, I would say, more of an exceptional order. So this is also one reason, which has led to the less orders this year, because we had exceptional order of Hydronics last quarter, first year, quarter one. So I think that's all from my side, and now I will hand over to Yogesh, if you can take us through the revenues, slide 8.
Thank you, Vineet. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I would take you through the first quarter financials of 21-22 financial year. Let me take you to slide number 8. Revenue for the first quarter of FY 21-22 is INR 5.4 billion, 540 crores. As compared to the last year, same quarter, it was 4.32 billion, 432 crores. And there has been an increase or growth of revenue of 25% if we compare with the same quarter of the last year. There were execution challenges due to COVID wave 2, which impacted our factories, the factories of our vendors, and also the availability of the workforce at site. We are working aggressively to ramp up the site operations so as to reduce the lead time impact on the project executions. Significant contribution of the revenue came from the FGD portfolio. Almost about more than 60% came from FGD portfolio of the total revenue that we had. And there was a significant reversal of almost about 500, or a significant reversal of 74 crore, 740 million odd, from the re-estimation of the cost to complete the Hydro Subansiri project. So these were the highlights of the revenue. And I would like to add that we have a strong backlog of 51.8 billion INR and as of June 2021. Let's move to the next slide. On the profitability for the first quarter of the FY 21-22, the loss for this quarter stands at INR 1.526 billion, 152 crores. The major reasons for this loss are attributable to the Subansiri cost update of 876 million. And the further impact was on account of cost updates in various projects due to COVID execution challenges, commodity price increases, BOQ growth, details of which will be shared subsequently by my colleagues Kalpesh and Brian and Raj. On the major customer BHEL, we had some collection challenges, primarily for the end customer Transjetco, for which we had to create certain provisions for bad and doubtful debt. And we were we follow a policy in GE that we create provisions for outstandings which are greater than 1 year. So this, once we collect this money, these amounts, these provisions will be released back. The borrowing increased in this current fiscal year from 3.12 billion, 312 crores, to 5.143 billion, 514 crores, resulting into an additional borrowing cost of 66 million for us. So primarily, these are the highlights of the revenue and the profitability for the first quarter 21-22. I would hand over to my colleague Kalpesh Shah and Brian to take us through the details of the Subansiri project.
Thanks, Yogesh. Thank you, Yogesh, and good afternoon to everyone. I am on page number 11, where I would take all of you through the project update on Subansiri project. So this Subansiri project is a 2,000 megawatt hydropower project, which is in the state of Arunachal Pradesh, and this is with a customer NHPC. This project was awarded somewhere 17 years ago.
Ladies and gentlemen, we lost the line of Mr. Kalpesh Shah. Request you to please continue to hold while we join him back to the conference. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for patiently waiting. We have Mr. Kalpesh Shah reconnected. Over to you, sir.
Sorry for this technical issue. So this project was awarded somewhere 17 years ago, and since December 2011, the project site activity was not progressing. Later in December 2020, NHPC restarted the project, and JPL on its part evaluated the project restart through contractual evaluation. And then later we decided to restart the project work. Also, NHPC being an important player and customer for JPL. With the project restart, we re-estimated the cost to complete for the project, and this has led to a P&L impact or P&L charge of 876 million INR, as Yogesh mentioned, for the quarter ending June 2021. And we are actively working with NHPC customer to pursue the claims in order to mitigate the current margin impact on the quarter. Now, I would request Raj to take up the next slide. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Kalpesh. Good afternoon, everyone. I'll speak on the page 12 about the steam projects update. So basically, in quarter one of this year, we saw the huge impact of COVID wave 2, which was unprecedented across our sites. And as we saw across the nation, it was also impacted all our sites. And we had an exodus of workforce, which resulted in a lot of activities getting suspended, as well as delays which we are foreseeing. Aside of that, there were critical supplies coming from western part of the country and the southern part of the country, which, if you would recollect, saw initial impact, and a lot of our supplier base is around that part of the geography of the country, and that also resulted in disruptions to the equipments getting at the site. At the same time, we have seen that a lot of our subcontractors have got impacted on the liquidity front across the board. Aside of that, some of our projects which are pertaining to the old ESP loss-making projects, we have seen significant commodity impact, headwinds coming from huge inflation which we have seen across the metals, copper, aluminium, and steel, as well. As you would all know, this is something creating difficulty in terms of our profitability on these projects. The FGD projects are pretty much brownfield projects, and when we are executing them, after we start a project, we are seeing some scope challenges or opportunities which are creeping up, which result in additional cost. And these are some of the challenges which we have seen in this quarter. We definitely are deploying multiple strategies to mitigate them. One of the major ways, by reducing our lead time, we want to see that we bring back the schedules to the best possible level, reduce the impact of the COVID delays. This is something which we are doing through Kaizen approach across our project sites. Aside of this, we are also aggressively working towards optimization of the BOQs to ensure that we can create some opportunity from that front. At the same time, we are pursuing aggressively with our customers, as in the beginning was mentioned, that we will continue to pursue on the claims towards the COVID-related impact and costs which we have seen. And this is something which we are going to continue to pursue with our customers at this point of the time. So with that, I will hand it back to Prashant.
Thank you, team. So with that, this is what we would open the floor for question answers, and over to the moderator to take in questions.
Thank you very much. We will now begin the question and answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and one on the touchtone telephone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and two. Participants are requested to use handsets while asking a question. Anyone who would like to ask a question, please press star and one at this time. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. The first question is from the line of Ranjit Shivram from ICICI Securities. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hello. Hello, sir. Good afternoon. Am I audible?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, sir, look, even if I take out that 87 crore worth of this impact because of that Subanshree, still I end up with an EBITDA loss of 45 crore. So what has led to this 45 crore of EBITDA loss despite the Subanshree losses, and how do you see this going forward? If there was any provisioning, if you can probably quantify the amount of provisioning that we did, which led to this loss, it will be really helpful.
Okay. Yogesh can give you the ratio of provisioning apart from Subanshree. Yogesh?
Yeah, thank you for the question. And you're right that out of the total loss that we have, 87.6 or 88 is contributed to Subanshree. Then remaining about the 45 crores is primarily on account of, as I mentioned, the bad and doubtful debt provision that we had to create. Now, this provision is in the range of about 25-26 crores. And this is, as I mentioned, for the project of Transjetco through the customer, our customer, BHEL. And once, like this project, there are some challenges with regard to, there are two projects here, whether they will be like continuing and to what extent. And as I mentioned, as per the policy, we have created the provision because these outstandings are greater than 1 year. So once we collect this money, these almost about 25 crores will come back. Then the second component is on account of interest. As I shared that our borrowing cost has increased, and we had a borrowing cost of close to almost about 6-7 crores that we had for the borrowing that we had to take because the terms that we have of payment with our customers, which are loaded towards retention. Third aspect is, as I mentioned by Raj, and like that there were some challenges on the commodity price increases that we came across, plus the challenges we faced because of COVID to ramp up our site resources, etc. So we are contemplating that there will be some higher cost to complete the projects. And there will be some delays also, which are attributable to COVID, which will be increasing our cost. So remaining cost is on account of that we have updated in our cost to complete of the projects.
Sir, in that, if I get your data right, 25 crore is the bad debt provision. So even if I take that 25 crore, still I have another 20 crore in EBITDA, and EBITDA doesn't include interest.
Right,
so
sorry. Yeah.
So there is another 20 crore of loss, even if I adjust for your additional 25 crore of bad and doubtful debt. So what accounts for that? Is there anything out there which we have?
It is basically updation of our cost to complete of the several projects that we have. And as was mentioned that the loss projects of ESP,
sorry.
Sorry, Prashant.
Yeah, please go ahead, Yogesh. Sorry.
Yeah. So the cost updates that we have done for the cost that we'll be incurring for completing these projects, we follow the POC concept of cost, and accordingly, whatever cost we are seeing that will come to us in the future, we update in our planned cost, and that has an impact on our profitability because the revenue is proportionate. So that's how this remaining portion of 20 crores is coming in.
And when I see your raw material cost to sales, it is at 92%. So what has led to that high raw material cost to sales? So these provision.
Sorry, Ranjit. Primarily the number which you are seeing is the cost increase in the material for ESP projects. Yogesh, what is the ratio for the ESP FGD projects where there is this cost increase of raw material? That amount maybe is what.
The whatever impact we are talking about, Prashant, the 876 million of Subhansiri and the project cost updates, they both come in the cost of material. Accordingly, you will see there is an increase of almost about 22%. And if we take this value of 876 crores or plus almost about say another 20 crores for the other projects, this is like leading us to the impact of almost 22% in the increase in material cost. Plus the second part of the increase in material cost is our proportion of FGD orders is going up and boilers is going down. So because of this product mix, there is an impact on our profitability as well.
And the revenue write back of 700 million rupees on account of that in ratio, Ranjit would see that. Any next question, Ranjit, or we move to the next speaker?
Okay, you move to the next speaker. I'll join the queue. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Anyone who would like to ask a question, you may press star and 1. The next question is from the line of Vipin Jindal from ICRA Limited. Please go ahead.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. Vipin this side from ICRA Limited. So my question is partly answered. I wanted to know about the breakup of the loss line, BHEL, provisioning and all. Another thing is like couple of questions. So how is the liquidity position of the company and what kind of elongation in the working capital cycle has GE Power seen? And second, like you mentioned that there has been some costs which you have incurred because of the high metal prices. What kind of impact can we expect going forward as well? Because metals are all-time high and we do not foresee any kind of a soft prices. So any, like your order book, what kind of impact it can have going forward as well?
Thank you for the question.
I'll take the material price first and then we'll move on to Yogesh for the working capital. So on the material cost, I would say this was an exceptional quarter where there were two things happening. One, we have covered more than 60% of the backlog of the FGD projects, and we are towards end of supplies with a very small end of supplies left, and we are moving towards erection and primarily services at site. So the effect and there is a price variation clause applicable, and since the timing of the price variation towards the project, those calculations led us to the provision on the cost update on the material cost. Therefore, that I would say is unique because this was related to the supplies in which were done in the period and the cost to complete. So we are ahead in the execution cycle. Primarily what we have left with is a very small portion of cost to complete, mostly site services and then reclaiming of retention payments. That leads to the working capital question. The working capital is primarily stuck with the payment terms, the way it is structured, primarily with the contracts that we have with the FGD, where the retention amount is payable upon the completion of the erection milestones once you have supplied. So the consumption of the working capital has been largely driven by the FGD project execution. We expect to become cash positive by next year. This is what we have said also in the last couple of calls, that we expect that we will be positive in once we start recovering these retention payments after erection milestones. So that is the reason for working capital consumption. In terms of liquidity, I would hand over to Yogesh to comment.
So basically, the major portion of the question is already answered. We had to borrow money, or we are borrowing money because we have payment terms which are heavily retention oriented, and we have to complete the milestones, and that these retention payments are due to us. And these are with, I would say, the established PSUs of the country like NTPC and BHEL. And in view of this higher retention, we have to have the borrowings of 514 crores, and the cash flow has been negative to the extent of 2.4 billion. And Our trade receivables have increased to 1.5 billion, and the payables, we ensure that we make timely payments to our vendors, and there has been decrease in the trade payables to the extent of about 1.7 billion. That way, I would say the liquidity position is, I would say, a bit stretched because of these reasons, and we have enough borrowing limits still available, and we are contemplating that the borrowing will peak by December, and then they would start easing out once the milestones get completed and we start retention payments. And as mentioned by Prashant, we are looking forward to the cash borrowing to be behind us. We were contemplating that by 31st March 22, but in view of the COVID and the likely delays in completing our milestones, we are contemplating by the Q1, Q2 of the next fiscal, we will be reaching a comfortable level. Normally, we don't give futuristic statements, but this is what is the indication from our side.
Thanks a lot, Yogesh. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Sanjay Doshi from Nippon India Mutual Fund. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon, team. Thanks for your initial comments and trying to explain a bit on these little bit of a challenging quarter. Sir, I'll keep my question restricted to two as of now. One is on the order backlog that we have of 5,180 crores. If you can give some breakup about this order backlog with respect to FGDs, services, as well as hydro, and what is the share of Subansiri project here, and what would be the execution timeline of that project, and what is the backlog there particularly for that project? And second would be just on the order inflow part. While we have explained that the quarter was challenging in terms of the projects that we want to target were not finalized, but if you can give some comment about how in terms of overall opportunity, and how should one look at it from a annual perspective? Should we be closer to what number we are targeting in terms of the pipeline for our order inflows? Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Sanjay. I will take the second question first on the opportunities in FGD. Approximately the ordering is lot larger in the market, but JEPIL is targeting roughly about 25 to 28,000 crore worth of opportunities in the next 3 years. The market share that currently we hold is 15% plus, and this particular share we will see that we will target to maintain. So roughly the opportunity we need, maybe you want to add in terms of gigawatt and the opportunity on the FGD, so that we will cover first.
Yeah, so Prashant, we still expect about 20 to 25 gigawatt will get ordered going forward in the coming quarters. So yes, there has been a delay in ordering in quarter one, but as I mentioned, things are picking up. And even though, as Prashant mentioned also, that we are not targeting all the orders, we are looking at cash equity deals, but we have a healthy pipeline for FGD, and we have been in discussion with these customers, for quite some time now, and we expect many of the deals to close in the coming quarters. So this is for the FGD. Similarly, services, as I mentioned, we have done well in quarter one, but that was, we had this big upgrade, a few big upgrade orders. But as I mentioned, we have a pipeline, and we think, we are also going to sustain our position and improve, I would say, in the coming quarters for services also. So things are going to look up coming forward.
Sanjay, coming to the order backlog, this was shared last time also, and we have the same percentages of our order backlogs. Almost about 50% is coming from FGDs, and 14%, the range is 12 to 14% is coming from boilers, and as explained last time, 10 to 12% is services. So, and our hydro backlog is about 25 to 30%. So exactly the same percentages. We continue with the backlog of 51.086 billion. Coming to specifics of Subansiri, normally we don't give specifics.
Yeah, maybe
Subansiri is 2 billion Sorry, Prashant. Yeah. So Subhansiri is almost about 2.1 billion, and there are 8 units in this. And we are
maybe Yogesh, I would address this to Brian. Maybe Brian, you want to comment on Subhansiri as requested by Sujay.
Sure, but I think that as was just being mentioned, the backlog for Subansiri is roughly about 2 billion INR, and the target to complete is the entire project is in the second half of 2024.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you very much, sir. Quite detailed. Just one last follow-up on this order inflow opportunity, sir. I appreciate your views on FGDs and how you want to be selective versus taking on large EPC projects there. But overall also, if for a company as a whole, if you can give some direction about how do you see the market opportunity for services in terms of what we are able to do in improving our product offerings and solutions offerings in the market and our working with the private clients possibly. If you can give some color there, because our run rate there has to grow quite meaningfully for us to be able to have some kind of a growth in the coming years.
Yeah. So thanks, Sanjay. So the strategy is currently in the same direction. We want to focus on positive cash, positive margin deals. And in FGD, the reason for being selective is that the NTPC lots are concluded. The rest of the lots are with the state customers and private IPPs. And since the finance, how the FGDs will be financed, in that we are being selective to ensure that we deal with selected opportunities that we are able to work with the customers, therefore being selective. And that opportunity is good for the next 3 years in the range of roughly 25,000 crores of opportunities in the market, which we are targeting. So that is one leg. The second area that we still see opportunities emerging is in the area of the SCRs and the NOx. We still see opportunities there in service. The core services upgrade and the upgrades, which is the service market of steam power, we are continuing to see positive growth. The customers are continuing to order despite the first quarter being challenging. We have been able to maintain the momentum in the core. Of course, we did land a few upgrade orders from the industrial segment, and that is an area that we will continue to focus. So that is on steam build and services. And Brian and Kalpesh are pursuing a similar strategy on hydro, selectively looking at opportunities and focusing on services upgrades on OEM. Gas is a stable flat business. Now, these are the current opportunities that we have. We are additionally looking at market opportunities in the industrial segment. Those are early, and I don't see them materializing safe, so to say, in the order book in the current financial year. But there are certain pilot test opportunities we are testing out in the market, in the private sector, in the industrial segment, for example, alumina, etc. So there are certain opportunities that we are pursuing to expand the portfolio of offerings in the industrial segment. Here, we might see in the some movement, and we will report out as we progress.
And Prashant, also to add, flexibility is also going to coming up. As you mentioned, it's not maybe in the immediate, it will not help us in this year. But going forward, we are also looking at flexibility. Its market is going to pick up. And also, we are also trying to increase our market share. As you rightly said, as we are trying to move towards services, we also have taken an initiative to increase our market share, especially for other OEMs. So this is something which will bring us more orders and improve our position going forward.
Yeah. So these are market opportunities that we are pursuing, and we are our estimates and assumptions are that this strategy is in the right direction. We see the market opportunities shaping in the way that we have anticipated, and we will report it out as it progresses.
Thank you. Any other question, Mr. Doshi?
No, it's fine. Thank you so much.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Renu Baid from IIFL. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Hi, good evening, sir. So my first question would be to understand, given that we have Subhanshree now back in the books and executable over the next 3.5, 4 years, and relatively margin headwinds on FGD as well. So how should we look at the gross margins behaving in the next 2 years, specifically as FGD nears completion, including the ESP projects? So can we expect some improvement in gross margins, or X of provisions that we saw in this quarter, 24-25% margins are what you are expecting around?
Sorry, what was the last point, Renu? We missed that.
No, I'm saying as in if we, for the current quarter, if we knock off the cost to completion for Subhanshree that we have provided for the 87 crores and 20 crores of incremental C2C provisions, then effectively the gross margins to that extent relatively still are soft. So are we expecting any improvement on that side, or it still looks challenging?
Yeah, so I will address this first. Kalpesh, you want to clarify on what you've presented on the way forward on
adjusting for all these provisions, we see gross margins of almost 28% for the quarter. So how should we look in terms of the gross margins coming in from these FGD projects, inclusive with the mix of services and the entire portfolio?
So maybe a quick comment, Kalpesh, on Subhanshree, and then we move to Yogesh for Jepil, or that's what I would suggest. Kalpesh?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Prashant. So on Subhanshree piece, currently we have done this cost to complete revision, and then we have taken this impact. And this project, as it has been on hold for more than 10 years, so we are still working with the customer, and lot of site activities and our material assessment and all those things are in progress. So at this stage, we do not see any major impact, but this is something we will still work, and as we progress, we will know more on this. But we are confident that we should be maintaining what we are currently holding on this project.
Renu, coming to your the question on futuristic, see, normally we don't give futuristic numbers, and the analysis that you have done is broadly on the right track, that our PAT is or our PBT is at minus 28% presently. And when we look together at these items, these special items that we have, they Subhanshree number is in public domain, and we have shared it, plus some indications on the borrowing or the cost or our basic elements of cost increases that we have. So these are your interpretation is pretty fair, but I would not like to give you any futuristic down the line 2 years number indications. This is not the company policy, but I can simply make a statement that the profitability, what we look at presently, seems to be on the same track for the future as well.
I want to clarify on the backlog margin. That is it reflective of the first quarter? The answer is probably no. The first quarter was an exception because of one-off, and it is not the trend that we would say is a trend. It was a one-off in the first quarter due to these exceptional items. The gross margin on the backlog is still intact, and Yogesh, maybe you want to comment on that.
So probably margins that we saw in FY20 pre-COVID, FY 19-20, can we expect those kind of, as in RM to sales, coming back to 70% levels based on the current backlog? Or do you think that itself looks a bit of stretch in terms of the current cost headwinds?
If we look at service business, the margins indications we have given, they are definitely better than the indications on our FGD business. And as mentioned by Prashant, that Subhanshree is a one-off cost that we have. So the other things seem to be on track on the indications or the calculations that you have done I would like to say that they are more or less on similar lines, barring some unforeseen circumstances like COVID-3 coming in or the commodity cycle getting further adverse. Otherwise, clearly, like we are looking at similar range of profitability that we have had in the past.
Sure. So my second question is to understand a bit more on the export opportunity. While in the last, I would say, 18 months, we have been aggressively eyeing services pie. Are we seeing some hopes of growth revival back on the export side, given that global economies and demand is starting to look up? And especially in your developed countries also, we are seeing spending on infrastructure picking up. So any hopes of pickup on the export side of the pie, or that would not come through?
So Renu, for exports, the market for JEPL is GE. The customer is GE, and we work with GE for exports, both in hydro, in gas. The trend comes where there is a COE for exports. Similarly, in steel, from Durgapur, we do supply and support certain projects outside India, and that trend we see so we are currently reviewing what opportunities exist and how will this shape up in the future. But I don't see any change on the hydro and the gas. On the steam side, there is a view that on the services we still see continue. So I don't see a big trend change for the current year in the export opportunities. For future, for sure, we are reviewing additional mandates, but at this point in time, there is nothing new to add here. So the COE part of exports continues here.
And can there be some scope for JEPL to actually also explore exports of products for emission compliance in the developed market? So would we have the portfolio and would we be competitive, or there are other regional entities already servicing those markets with the same offerings?
Yeah, so on the export, the opportunity for NGSL to do O&M outside India, that is a company where JEPL has acquired stake from GE, which is currently taken a couple of orders in India. And the first preference or the first in order is already NGSL, which will establish O&M first in India, and then we will go abroad. And together with that, we are evaluating what additional opportunities can be taken outside India. But as I said, those markets are served by GE, and we serve GE as a single customer, and we're working with them to see how these opportunities will shape up for JEPL in future. At this point in time, I don't have further update. I will come back to you on this in the coming months.
Sure. And just lastly, if I can ask slightly a longer term question, in next 2.5 years, as bulk of the FGD EPC projects taper off in backlog and we come back to the base business, and incremental orders are more on the equipment side in FGD, which will be smaller in terms of the rupee value of the projects. So, 2 years down the line or 3 years down the line, what is your view in terms of how could be the shape and size of the portfolio of the company? And aligned with that, what are we doing to keep the cost under control?
So yes, that's a good question. I will address the cost first. So this year is the year of transformation. We still have a backlog of BHEL on the supplies of boiler equipment that continues towards mid of next year. So that is something that we have still to execute. FGDs we will execute over the next 4 to 5 years. The order intake would continue in our estimate for 3 years at this point in time as the market opportunities exist as per the current program by the government. So that is what JEPL will pursue to address for in the near future. So those are the opportunities available. Flexibility is a new market which we are now seeing with renewable integration, may present additional opportunities. So if I have to say beyond 3 years, how do we see, the third area that we are looking at, which I presented in our page 4, is to look at industrial opportunities. And here we are evaluating industrial opportunities. One opportunity is the alumina solutions for alumina. that we are pursuing, so we will continue to pursue opportunities on the industrial segment towards emissions, towards efficiency upgrades and services. We see a good potential. We have reassessed the market in light of the renewable acceleration, and we believe from a strong potential on the services side over the next 10 years. As per the CA, the estimates still look robust for next 10 years for the existing coal-based plants for services. And the additional energy transition for these assets via renewable integration, flexibilization, and via operations and maintenance via NGSF, we see that would be a larger area. Apart from that, the industrial segment opportunities that we are pursuing, we will update when we progress in this area.
And Prashant, just to add, we will also be looking at NOx emission. SCR, I think, is going to pick up going forward. So to some extent, SCR will take care. And for the industry, the captive power plants will continue to come, and we are going to, as Prashant said, industry is our target area. So we will also target FGD for industrial captive power plants going forward.
Thank you. I would request Ms. Dey to rejoin the queue for follow-up questions. Anyone who would like to ask a question, you may press star and 1. As there are no further questions from the participants, I now hand the conference over to Mr. Prashant Jain for closing comments.
So thank you all for joining the call today. I hope you have been able to address your questions. It was an exceptional quarter, and therefore we had a larger team today to address your questions. I hope you have been able to clarify your questions, and we are looking forward to see you in the next quarter. Thank you all for your support and patience, and wish you a good week ahead. Thank you.
Thank you. On behalf of GE Power India Limited, that concludes this conference. Thank you for joining us, and you may now disconnect your lines.